what kind of advice do you have to homeowners?
Practicing that preparedness. Starting the conversation now is always going to be a benefit to any association out there.
And welcome to the Recovery Report Live, Global Pro's deep dive into relevant business and insurance topics, providing actionable takeaways and valuable insights. We aim to update, educate, and inform you weekly. I'm Dan Odess, president of Global Pro, where we manage risk to recovery. For more than a decade, we have represented thousands of business owners and community associations in the placement of insurance and the recovery of over $1 billion in damages. We are your source for insurance news you can use. So we had our first hurricane landfall in the U.S., Hurricane Hannah. Hannah quickly upgraded to a Cat 1 right before making landfall in Corpus Christi, Texas. There has been a lot of discussion about South Texas preparation of the storm and its investment in personal protective gear, a storm preparation we've never experienced in the past. Unfortunately, cities are reporting financial struggles and supply chain issues with buying and distributing the gear in order to protect residents and emergency responders. It's certainly a quick lesson on what we need to do should another storm hit the United States. Likely, like the newly formed tropical storm, and it's a very difficult spelling and pronunciation, so ISAIAS. So, anyone's guess on how many times that thing is going to be totally butchered in the news, but it's threatening us, which is bearing down the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, and parts of the Bahamas. The storm's track has moved more east. Models are predicting a track along the east coast of Florida. Currently, the storm has one of the largest wind fields. Now, that's a very important issue, so definitely pay close attention here. It's extending more than about 400 miles from the center, so stay ready. Given the unusual situation we are in due to the ongoing pandemic, it's even more important now to remember what we have learned from past storms. Why? Because things are only going to take longer, and we are going to be met with many more challenges. Also, there have been major changes in the insurance market that occurred even before the pandemic took hold of our community. In 2017, we had a series of back-to-back storms, Maria, Harvey, Irma, which was a huge storm, kind of almost similar to what we're seeing here with this recent storm that's starting to threaten Florida here. And then in 2018, Hurricane Michael. I mean, it was total controversy over whether or not that was a Category 5, and ultimately they decided it was a Category 5, one of the most devastating storms that hit the Florida Panhandle. But there was valuable takeaways from these storms that we can use here now in 2020 to make sure that we as business owners, community associations are prepared for what to expect here in 2020, such as an issue regarding wind-driven rain. It's something that that was a bit of a controversy, and those that did not have a representation certainly felt the impacts of this new policy language and insurance companies trying to use it and twist it to apply to their hurricane claims. There's a trend towards this anti-consumer claims handling and the assertion that prolific interior water damage from a hurricane is not actually covered. And it's related to this assertion that somehow water in your building is wind-driven rain and not from a hurricane. This new phrase has negative implications and may result in wrongful denials and/or delays in the claims. The truth is, had it not been for the hurricane, there would not have been wind, and there would not have been water in the building. If the building's envelope, like a window or door assembly, had not failed during the storm, the water would not have entered the property. It's that simple. Unfortunately, in a multi-story properties, it's difficult and costly to inspect the integrity of the window and door frames, waterproofing, stucco, and other cladding materials to identify the storm damage. However, the results of these inspections could easily account for significant increases in the scope and value of your loss. The second issue is this flood insurance paradox. Probably one of the most confusing conversations to have with an insurance professional is what is or isn't covered by flood. Is it pre or post firm? When were the elevators installed? How high was the flood line? Were the mitigation rates on par with the industry? Are the industry rates the same as the cost estimating software being used? Are your bills itemized enough to get paid? Do you submit a proof of loss? How do I dispute what was paid? Is your elevation certificate correct? The list is long and continues to grow, as do the number of policy changes we see from storm to storm season. It is a best business practice to make sure that your flood elevation certificate is correct and to know the age of your building and the elevators. Also, familiarize yourself with standard commercial NFIP policies, which is available on the internet and downloadable in a PDF format. If you're still confused and need assistance, contact Global Pro. We're always here 24/7, 365, and we're ready to help you with all of your business and community association needs. The other issue, and one I definitely want to note, is mechanical failures that are actually not storm related. Kind of a confusing point because a storm hits and our mechanical systems are no longer working. And nearly every storm, high winds and or flying debris will cause a lot of power outages. As the power fluctuates on and off and lightning strikes are more frequent, more mechanical systems may fail days, if not weeks, after a storm passes. Days, if not weeks, an important issue. It is extremely important to document the date of the failure or when the surge occurred, which led to the accident or failure of your system. If the system did not fail or the accident did not occur on the date of the storm, then more than likely these damages are not, listen to that, are not storm related. Therefore, the hurricane or windstorm deductible does not apply. Think about that. And most often, your equipment breakdown or boiler machinery policy will cover the damages for that loss. Pay close attention to the vendor contracts and agreements to ensure that the date and cause of the loss are accurately recorded. Because I can't tell you how many times that paperwork really came back to bite our clients, and it just did not help the process at all and just led to more and more delay and underpayment. This simple advice will save you time and money, especially since things will take longer and perhaps insurance companies may be less willing to pay given the current economic environment due to the pandemic. Who knows? We will see. The reality is the insurance contracts are not easy to navigate, and most often they were written in a way to help the insurance companies defend themselves against a lawsuit. But when do lawsuits most often occur after a storm? 8 months to a year and a half, if not many more years after that, okay? So let's not find ourselves in that situation and use this advice to help yourself now. The future is unclear. Our community has faced so many challenges in 2020. Get the information you need and stay vigilant in your preparations. I want to bring on a man that knows a lot about preparations, a true pillar in our community, and a guy that I've had the privilege of getting to know, Brian Robiskie. Brian is a proud Ohio State Buckeye, a former NFL football wide receiver from 2009 until 2013. He was drafted by the Cleveland Browns, so he makes up for it there since I did grow up as a Cleveland Browns fan, and played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Detroit Lions, and Atlanta Falcons. Brian transitioned off the field and took his focus and energy and poured it into real estate. Brian and I had an opportunity to sit down and talk a bit about COVID and about his challenges and successes. So I'm excited to have you with us today, Brian. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Dan. Thank you for having me.
No, absolutely, Brian. And I know that there's, you've had an absolutely incredible career and you've had the privilege of doing that. And it's a bit of a family thing too. So really cool to have you on and have the opportunity to get to know you a bit. Really, really appreciative of your time. And so let's get into it a little bit. But how are you weathering the pandemic?
I'm doing well. I think, withstanding everything that's going on, just trying to stick to a schedule. I think that's been the biggest thing. I'm in, construction now, and for us, that was an industry that was deemed essential. Yep. So we've tried to continue to work. I think in the things that we've been doing, primarily in Broward County, we've been trying to work around the restrictions, trying to work around, city inspections, permits, and just dealing with the things that are no longer, in our control. So, construction obviously is a very regimented, very strict schedule-based business and industry. But with everything that's going on right now, it's just been hard to try to stick to a schedule when you don't know what's coming. So, I think for us, we've been very fortunate in that we've been able to continue to work. And I mean, that's the one thing that, we're all grateful for. So with everything going on, we're definitely happy about that. But I think also just, taking some time to, reflect. I think everybody's had more time now and, had time to sit inside, not going out, not eating out, hanging out. So, you find yourself just reflecting on things that you may have taken for granted. So, sitting inside, being on the phone, making calls. Now is the time I get back to everybody. Every phone call gets returned. You still on the phone now for probably twice as long as you did before. And it's been good.
Yeah, and people chalk that up to being more productive. I think it's just looking for something to do, right? Sometimes it's just kind of like, all right, man, I got to move on here. I like your point about, the schedule thing. I definitely think that's been one of the greatest challenges, really trying to keep you focused. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of just making list after list these days. I was always, good, wake up in the morning, write that list, try to give you some guidance to it. I think schedules, and a man that, obviously you've dealt with schedules almost your entire life and had a career that was based around a schedule. So certainly a pro at that, I assume. So it definitely taking that on the field experience, taking it off the field and applying to your business strategies. And before we get into that real estate, that successful real estate career that you've jumped into, and I gotten to learn a little bit about it, which is awesome to hear. You hear. Unfortunately, sometimes the media, they like to play up the bad story, the guy that didn't make it. And I certainly meet so many good folks like yourselves who actually turn a professional athletic career into success. And I love talking with you and your peers about what you've done, because you've been met with so many challenges. And one of the challenges facing a lot of your peers that are still playing is this idea of the pandemic and these opt-outs that we're hearing about. What do you think that would have meant to you, and where do you stand on that issue?
I think this is something that I bounce around with guys that I played with, guys that are still in the league, guys that I know. You said it was a family affair, so my dad is a long time coach, NFL coach. He's been in the NFL over 40 years, playing and coaching. So has seen a lot, hasn't seen anything like this. But we've had a chance to talk about it. And I think when you look at it, it's a case by case scenario. So I think, there's definitely not, one blanket approach to all of it. But the interesting thing that the NFL is doing now that I saw is I think they're giving guys a chance to opt out. And if they choose to do so, they're still giving them accredited season. If they are deemed an at-risk player, I think they get like a $350,000 advance. If they're low risk, they get a $150,000 advance. So, they're not really putting that kind of pressure where, if you don't show up, you're not getting paid or your job is not safe. But with all that said, if it were me and, this was a few years ago and I still had the ability to play, I probably would. And, if enough guys opt out and they start going down the Rolodex and calling guys, I might have to make a decision. So I was thinking about that the other day when I went out, started jogging, and I was biking. I said, you know what, I might have to do this a little bit more if I want to get back in shape. So I'd be back involved. I would go back and I would play. I'm not married. I don't have kids at home. So I think, for me, that would be something that I would go back and do.
As long as you got a fresh cut and you can hit the weights, man, you're back on there. You got to dust those cleats off and get up back on that field, right? So.
That's it. I could go out there. I could give you a hitch route. I could give you a comeback. I think anything past, 15, 20 yards, I probably couldn't do it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm no doubt, man. You'll get back out there. So it's interesting times, and I think and another challenge. I mean, we saw the opt out, but the other side of it, let's be honest, is as athletes, and I had the opportunity, obviously, to play while I was in high school, and then I got a little taste of it on the collegiate level. Is you feed off the fans, and it's and I don't know if you've watched any of the NBA games in the bubble. How do you find that motivation in the fourth quarter? The game's tied. You used to have that energy, that noise, right? That carry you. What do you think that's gonna? How do you think that's gonna challenge these players?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting point. I think if you look at some of these NBA games, soccer games, baseball games, and you're watching it on TV, it's kind of eerie. And all these the games, they look like scrimmages. I know the NBA, they are. Tomorrow they'll get started for real. But I mean, they just don't look like real games. But I think that is from our perspective at home, watching it on TV. I think for players, like for myself, for you, it doesn't take much to get motivated. The thing that I think about actually, and I don't know if you had a chance, if you watched The Last Dance, documentary with Michael Jordan.
Of course.
And went through that.
Yeah. Anyone with a competitive nature would want to. So yeah.
There was a part in that where Jordan was talking about how he was slighted and somebody said this and a reporter said this, and he was keeping this record of all these things being said about him, and then people came out and said nobody said anything. Like, he was just making this stuff up to sort of get him going. And I said, that's what athletes do. That's what we all do. So whether or not there's fans in the stands or anybody watching, if there's a guy across from you and it's competitive, as you said, you're gonna get those juices fired up, and it's not gonna take much. You're gonna find a reason. This guy, he said something about whatever, and I'm gonna go at him and make sure that make sure that you win. So I don't think that we necessarily need a little bit extra push.
Yeah, I think, and for some of the teams who never really had a fan base anyways, I think they're actually more apt to probably win. So there may be some teams out there. So I said it, you don't have to. So I think some teams, they may not even see it as a challenge. It's just probably easier. They don't have to clean up the stands for the 10 people that showed up. So, but no, I definitely think
stadiums that had the blackout up top and they had the banners across the top of the stadium. Yeah, now they're just gonna have to bring those down a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit further down. But I think that definitely is being a fan of sports, which I now am, obviously. It's tough to see that. You'd love to see that live action, and but I can imagine the challenges for these players. I mean, you're competitive. If you have that competitive spirit in you, you're going to find it, because that someone's got to win. So and you want to be that person, regardless of the sport or if there's someone in the stands cheering for you. So there's so much pressure you put on yourself as an athlete. I can imagine throughout your years, probably your harshest critic was you. So now you're basically playing for you in large respect. So. But let's talk about these challenges, right, that you've taken from the field and how you've now transitioned them off the field. Something I love talking about. Talk to me a little about your businesses and about that transition and how those challenges have helped you be as successful as you are.
I think the first thing, and I wanted to hit on this, is that theme of work ethic. And I think for me, that's sort of, something that gets thrown out, like, oh, if you're an athlete and you have this work ethic, it'll translate over and you can be successful in business, you can be successful in whatever endeavor that you're going to undertake. And that was a misnomer. I think, like, the first thing that I realized was that, work ethic is not unique to athletes. And you get in different fields in these different industries, whether it be, medicine, finance, politics, whatever it is. There's a lot of people with work ethic, a lot of times more than what an athlete had. And these people have been doing this a lot longer than you. And, they've had a chance to, get a jump start on you. So I think that was the other challenge, was that, came up in a football family. So I knew even if I played 8, 10 years, had this great, unbelievable career, I was going to be 30, 32 when I retired. And I still would have to find something to do. So now I'm 32. Getting ready to change careers, and I'm behind the 8 ball, in a different field now that people have been doing for 10 or 12 years ahead of me. So I think that I started that transition when I was playing still. I was investing in real estate. I was out looking at different deals, and for me, I wish I started earlier. I wish it was something that I prepared for back in school. So. Definitely something that was new. I can actually remember the day that I got done, or said I was done. I was working on a resume just to put one together, and I sent one over to my little brother. And he's 5 years younger than me, been working for a little while. And I'm like, hey man, can you look at this? I have no idea if this is right. I don't know how you put together a resume. Yeah. He starts looking at it and chopping it around. He was like, no, I'm gonna take this out. Yeah, nobody really cares about this. Do this. So. It was, funny, but I think that, definitely glad that he was there to help.
Awesome, man. It's good. Again, family affair. I love it. It seems like you guys are close, and definitely feed on that, and it's definitely helpful. I can imagine a big part of the transition's got to be that. I mean, and making, having your family there to be able to support and help you, make through those decision process. So tell me, let's drill down a little bit on that, on the career that you've chosen in real estate. What drew you to it?
I think for me, it's something I've always been interested in. Just love the fact that it's a tangible asset. So something that, I could actually, pour into and I can go see and I can be around, I can watch it grow. And, something that I'm not going to, make everything about, sports, but, to take it back there, it was, being part of a team. So, facilitating all these moving parts and, you've got contractors, realtors, bankers, investors, and to be in the middle of all of that and to try to, bring everybody together on a deal, see it come together, go through construction, through completion, and then, get it executed. For me, that was something that was attractive. And then, obviously, being able to find a great team, and as you know, in any job, in any industry, any company, you're as good as people around you. So
absolutely,
I think, a lot of the subcontractors that we have are, unbelievable people, first, and then from there, we, tend to, put deals together.
That's awesome, man. And all of us always remember our first. And I want to ask you about your first construction project, your first real estate deal. What do you remember most about that, and what did you learn from it? Just
the time. I think that was the biggest thing. I had, no idea that, this was a 12 to 18 month, I'm scheduled. I'm used to things taking a long time. I'm used to, having off seasons. I'm used to, going throughout, a rigorous season and then, getting to the playoffs. Well, never made the playoffs, but I can go back to college and, get into a bowl game or something like that. And, it's a year-long process, but with a house, something that takes, upward of, a year and a half, 2 years sometimes. I think it was just, having patience. And that was the, definitely the biggest thing. This wasn't the first house, but early on, and this was when I knew I was done playing. I was at a house, and you and I talked about this before, so you know this story. I was at a house, just getting started. We were putting in some flooring, and I just didn't like how it was going in. So I wanted to jump in with the guys and start sorting material, make sure that the right stuff was going where, and everything was good. So, I'm sort of on the truck and I'm helping guys and,
getting your hands dirty.
What I'm supposed to be doing, right? And, got my hands so dirty that, a piece of marble fell off of a truck, snapped, and the way that it fell, it took off like the tip of my thumb.
Yeah.
So
the battle
happened, I kind of I looked down. I'm like, you're not going back to football, and you're a receiver, so this isn't going to work.
Nah.
And, this is a reminder. I leave things to the experts. As you know, I leave certain things to the experts. That was big.
Yeah, it's one of those old sayings. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And I think in that regard, it's like I know what I can do, and I know what I shouldn't be doing. So,
exactly.
And it's something you've noted before is just patience, and it's a process, right? And being patient and going through that process and working with those people, surrounding yourself with good people allows you to be more patient. As soon as you can kind of take it, and allows you to take a step back, look at what you're trying to accomplish, focus on the goal, and understand that things aren't always going to work out. I mean, I remember my first deal, and I remember going through it, and you just want to rush to the end and get a hold of it, and what are we going to do now? But then you get there, and because you've been so focused on getting there, you haven't properly planned out what's next, and you kind of get caught up in the weeds. So definitely. This year, I've been spending a lot of time focused, talking about it, reflecting on it, not only with my team, but also with, professionals like yourself that are in a similar industry, real estate and insurance, about this year. What has been your biggest and greatest challenge this year?
Man, I think it has definitely been a challenging year, for me, for most. I think we can all attest to that. Sort of, jumping on what you just said, I think, a lot of it too is just enjoying the process.
Yeah.
So I think, even with all these challenges, with everything that's going on, I think you have to be able to sort of enjoy the road, enjoy the process. Don't just try to get to the end, let it be done. But, sort of accept that adversity, because that's what makes us, and it's how we respond to it, and that's individually, that's in, business and anything else. I think is definitely how you respond. And you're seeing that right now with a lot of different companies. In real estate, they always say it's location, location, location is what you hear. But I think something I heard not too long ago, it's location, location, innovation. And I think that innovation is your key component, because that's going to make sure that that you stay relevant and you have that competitive advantage in whatever field that you're doing. So, professionally, I think that that's been a big challenge. And personally, if you've got a little time, I can, just talk about sort of, things that have been on my mind and what's been going on. So I think, my personal challenge is definitely more of a collective challenge. I think you look at what's going on in America with the climate and everything. And I think that with what happened in Minneapolis and the George Floyd incident, I think that, it's a collective challenge for all of us now to realize that this is an opportunity. So it's an opportunity, for us to further this conversation. I love what the guys in the NBA are doing. You hear guys like Tobias Harris and guys like LeBron James speaking out, guys that I played with in football. Malcolm Jenkins has done a tremendous job, leading this platform. And, I think that those guys have to continue to do that. But I think, like, for me, there's often we sit back and say, all right, well, I can't really do a whole lot. I don't have that platform, but you can. I think that it starts with education. And the first thing that we can do is, we can sit and educate ourselves on things like voting, supporting Black-owned businesses. I know that I didn't drink when I was playing. As soon as I was done playing, I started drinking wine, coffee, all that stuff. So, if I'm drinking wine, I want to get a bottle of rosé. Now, I go find, Lafette Rosé, Black-owned brand. You're familiar with
Don A. Yeah.
Don A. Absolutely great guy. So, definitely excited about what they've been able to do, and spend a lot of time in California right now. And there's a coffee house and kitchen here called Hilltop. That's now opened another location in the Inglewood area, and just created this haven creative space for professionals in the area that otherwise wouldn't have it. And I think that just like I said, opening yourself up and starting to get educated to these things, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and bringing attention to it. And I was in a conversation just recently on a Zoom call, and the thing that came to my mind, at the top of mind, was let's not make this just a trend. So I think what we need to do is continue it and make sure that this is not just another trend. So I definitely, and far better than I do, obviously. And I think it's great to be a part of the conversation and have that opportunity. So what are you working on now, though?
So now I think, we're still building. Like I said, construction is, it was deemed essential. So we've been able to continue working. I think the thing that, we've noticed is, so a lot of what I do is spec-based. We'll have a lot of the factors in our control. We can go out, find opportunities, and from start to finish, it's sort of our baby. And that's, great. Comes with a little bit more risk, but it's something that we're willing to undertake. But with this pandemic, with this sort of shift in mindset now, I think what we're seeing is a lot more people are coming down, from cities like Boston, New York, Chicago, and they're trying to get out of these dense areas, and now either retiring earlier or wanting another home. So we're getting more calls about building for clients. So right now, talking about innovation, we're starting to just change how we do things a little bit, and just sort of broaden our lane to make sure that we're doing as much as we can. So I think you couple that with having this extra time and just reflecting, trying to figure out different building techniques, different ways we could get more efficient, different ways that we can get better. Katera is a startup here in California who is basically doing off-site prefab construction and just trying to streamline the whole construction process. From what you do, construction is a very antiquated industry, and it's something that has just been around for a very, very long time. People are very, very rigid about it. It's a certain way that you do everything, and technology hasn't really caught up with real estate just yet. But it's something that it keeps getting pushed on, and that needs to continue to happen. So, how can we implement different technology in our homes? How can we integrate different technology with our subcontractors to make their lives easier? These are all things that sort of ongoing conversations. I know that it was interesting throughout this pandemic with the social distancing to sort of watch how people went through this process. And I saw a video a couple months ago. You had closings where people would drive through closings, and they were getting their document handed to them with a pole and a pen, and I'm like, all right, that sort of works. Zillow, I think now in 4 cities, you can go on their app and purchase directly from them.
Yeah, and you're in the South Florida market. I know that you're doing some things down here in South Florida. You're not here right now, right? You're in California, is that right? Yeah.
No, I'm in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, right? Yeah. So you're out west, but I know that you're doing a lot of work here in South Florida, and there certainly was a massive trend upwards and an opportunity, and the rental market went crazy. So definitely something we're watching as well. I think
you have to.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking back, what advice would you have given to your younger self, knowing what you now know?
You'd have to ask me that in 30 years because I'm still young.
Yeah,
I don't have any advice, that I think, if anything, just maybe like I said, just, going back and starting the transition earlier.
Yeah.
Knowing that, this was coming, to have a chance to go back and, just get a jump start on ultimately, gaining some knowledge on what I'm doing now. But I think we can bottle this up. You can put this in the archives, and we'll come back and revisit it in 20 years.
Yeah.
And then you can tell me, what you, well, I can tell you what advice I'd give myself.
What I'll do is we'll cut this up into a little bit of a highlight reel, and I'll send it to you about every year. So 2021, 2023, we'll just kind of like spread it out. We'll do it over 3, 5, and 10 years, and just start checking them off as we go along. Well, Brian, huge thanks. Really appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us, sharing a lot of your thoughts and ideas. Your entire career has been full of high stress moments and times when you had to make decisions quickly, and you certainly have had a lot of success, and absolutely think it's fantastic. So huge thanks obviously to all of our attendees that tuned in this week. We encourage everyone to go online to getglobalpro.com, check out our website. Click the resource section to read and download important information you need to be prepared. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We totally reorganized and made it a heck of a lot easier to navigate. All of our broadcasts are there for you to be able to go back, watch, enjoy them. Like us, follow us, engage us on all of our social media platforms. We love to connect with our clients and community. So call us anytime at 855-487-7475 or shoot us an email at recover@getglobalpro.com. Again, thank you, Brian, and all of our attendees for tuning in this week on the Recovery Report Live.